Hi folks, so short video on concentration calculation tips. So if you're working out on any sort of question that's got anything to do with concentration, they might ask you to work out the moles of something, they might ask you to work out the mass, they might ask you to work out concentration, or they could ask you to work out the volume. So they'll give you a couple of pieces of information and they'll ask you to work out these things. Now, I think one of the most difficult things is the fact that concentration has technically got two equations for it, although it is just one, really. If you remember that concentration is the amount of something, so how much of something you've got in a certain volume. Now, in chemistry, we've got two ways of measuring amount. We can talk about how many moles of something, or we can talk about the mass. So you can have concentration equals moles over volume, or you can have concentration equals mass over volume. But if you look at both of these equations, they're essentially this one. Moles over volume, moles is a way of measuring amount. Mass over volume, mass is a way of measuring amount. So it's amount over volume. The difference is the units, right? In this one, you're going to get units of moles per decimeter cubed. And in this one, you're going to get units of mass per decimeter cubed. First step, first thing you do with any concentration question is if they give you centimeters cubed anywhere, you need to divide it by 1,000 to turn them into decimeters cubed. So that's the very first thing you do. Turn any centimeters cubed, make that a bit neater, turn any centimeters cubed into decimeters cubed. It just makes it easy because you need to be working in decimeters cubed for these things. So if the questions ask you to work out concentration and they've given you, if they're asking you to work out concentration and they've given you moles and volume, then you do moles divided by volume. Don't forget to change the volume into decimeters cubed. Moles divided by volume, and those will be your units. Again, a little extra thing to make it a bit trickier. That can be written as moles dm to the -3. That is the same as that. That is moles per decimeter cubed. And just the same for the mass. That is mass dm -3. Mass per decimeter cubed or mass per decimeter cubed. Those two are the same thing. But the ones I'll underline, that's what they tend to use in the exam, one of those two. So if they want you to know if they want you to work out concentration in mass per decimeter cubed, you just do mass divided by volume. If you want concentration in moles per decimeter cubed, you do moles divided by volume. And the last thing they can ask you to do is to change moles per decimeter cubed into mass per decimeter cubed, or vice versa. And so for that, you just use moles equals mass divided by mR, or you can rearrange that to get mass equals moles times mR. So then you can turn moles into mass or mass into moles using one of these two, and then you can convert from these equations, let you turn moles per decimeter cubed into mass or mass into moles. The final thing which they could do is, I'll just make sure I move that out of the way, is they might just give you the concentration. They might give you the concentration in moles per decimeter cubed, and they might ask you to turn it into the concentration in mass per decimeter cubed. If that's the case, just pretend that the volume is 1 decimeter. Pretend you have got 1 decimeter cubed of something. So if we go back to our equations before, so concentration equals moles divided by volume. Just pretend your volume's 1, because then moles divided by 1 just equals 1. So in the other equation, concentration equals mass divided by volume. Well, we're pretending that it is 1, and when you divide it by 1, you can just kind of ignore it. So all you're having to do is turn moles into mass using that equation there. Hopefully that's cleared some stuff up for you.